had this like bad feeling just because of what I was going through. Like I knew that person I was with was not gonna like it, so I was like, oh, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go. And I don't know what pushed me to go, but I did. I ended up going, and right away I fell in love with punching the bag. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like this makes me feel good, right? So
Well, I'm thinking what you can do is say to your opponent, well, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna bring you and put you in the corner and take the stool from your corner, and I'm gonna cut your hair off, and then I'm gonna knock you out. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 27 of the Good People, Bad Intentions podcast. And today, as our guest, I have Rachael Spurling. Now, Rachael has a very successful account on Instagram with the handle Kickboxing Rach. And on this account, you see a lot of interesting things from some food that she cooks. You see her a little bit into her training journey into boxing, motivation as far as some of the things that she has gone through that I wish to talk to in greater detail in this podcast. She seems to always be in a good mood and happy, so positive, good vibes, something that I think we all need. And I'd love to get a little bit of a take of her story. Of course, last month, she had her first amateur boxing match. She went against Helen Chen, and this was at the West Coast Wonder Woman boxing card, all-female boxing card that we had previously talked with Ellen Connor about. And to me, this bout was something that really stood out. I'd love to get her thoughts on the match, and also looking into what she plans for in the future. So without further ado, guys, here's Rachael. Hello, Rachael. Welcome to the podcast. Hey.
hi, thanks.
Thank you for coming on. Hey, I've seen you for a while on Instagram because as you probably know, I had Ellen Connor on not too long ago. We spoke about the West Coast Wonder Woman. And you, in my opinion, were this star.
Oh, really?
At that event.
Thank you. Oh, thanks.
Of course, there was like world competitors that were competing there, and I think they deserve some credit.
Yeah.
But what I'm really interested in all the time, and I'm sure everybody listening is, it's always about the story that makes things a little more interesting. Adds a little more spice to it.
Yeah, that's true.
And so on Instagram, you have quite the following. And one thing I really love, and I feel like in a way as people, we kind of connect in maybe this kind of way. You're not afraid to put yourself out there and have a good time. You got videos, you're dancing, you're smiling. Yeah. You got these wonderful outfits. I always love those hats that you're wearing. You got a fashion sense. And if I'm not mistaken, you're a hairdresser, right?
Yeah, I'm a hairdresser, and I also have like a little side hustle. I make little gnomes. Yeah.
Okay. And do you place the gnomes in people's backyards to try to scare them, or like
they're actually like little stuffed
add a gnome.
I don't know if you saw on Ellen's West Coast Wonder Woman stories, but the prizes she was giving out,
yes,
there was like those gnomes. Yeah, those are I made those ones. So yeah,
oh, wow,
yeah. So I make like little stuffed gnomes. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you and I'm just noticing like in the background you got like a ladder. Is that like a handmade like ladder?
I got it from Marshall's. But yeah,
okay, Marshall's.
Scarf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it kind of looks like two of Gandalf's staffs.
Yeah,
it looks. I was like, are you like a wizard or
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say the other one because some people take offense to that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Yeah. But hey, the kind of one question I have. I noticed I was looking. I always, before I have somebody on the podcast, I always try to catch up with their social media, everything that's going out. And one thing that I saw a video you posted. You went for a run when one of your clients was a no-show.
Oh yeah.
And I've been a no-show before, and I think everybody listening has been a no-show. And I'm just curious, can you kind of put to words, your feelings when you have a client that's a no-show? Like, is it an upsetting experience, or do you, like you did in that video, do you always try to find something to do?
It depends. So usually I'm happy about it because I'm like,
Okay.
oh yeah, free time. Because like usually when I'm working, like I only work Monday to Wednesday, so I want to hustle
Hmm.
all day long and just usually
Hmm.
not really a lot of breaks in between there. I just work, work, work. So when it is like that, it's like, oh woohoo, I get like, unexpected free time. I can go do something, right? But like sometimes it's like if I have two big colors, let's say in a row, that's a big chunk of money out of my paycheck. So that kind of sucks. But if it's like something small here and there, that's fun. But yeah, yeah. I know that was a fun time. I was like, oh yeah, I got to get some runs in. Let's do that. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
that's
because
my
I was
main
watching
focus is
that.
boxing. So yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch what you
Oh, my
said
main
after that.
focus is boxing. So like wherever I
Okay.
can, like if I'm not working, I'm doing training or something that will like help me with my boxing.
And I love that because you know, if I'm not mistaken, one beautiful thing about working in the salon or with hair, with a couple of trades in that industry, you do have that flexibility where you can kind of choose your schedule, because you said you work Monday to Wednesdays. Is that something that you've been able to choose and make work for your gym?
Yeah, so my boss is really awesome. Like
Okay.
she knows I love boxing and she's like a friend too, not really like a boss, more of a friend. So it's really awesome that she's super understanding of it and she knows it's my passion and she knows the things I've been through. So she's really flexible, which I super
Mhm.
appreciate. Like I consider myself very privileged to have the job I have right now and it's so close to
Okay.
home, has the hours I need. And I just always said to myself, like, I need a job that revolves around what makes me a better person, which to me, boxing makes me a better person.
Mhm.
And if I can't get that in a job, I'm going to go find another job like that will accommodate
Yes.
it, right?
Yes.
Because I feel like if you make yourself happier, you're going to be better in your work. You're going to be better, I don't know, as a parent, as a person, as whatever. So I always think put your passion first and then everything else will follow.
I wanted to ask this lastly before we actually get into the meat of things. Um, when it comes to, again, haircuts, barbers, in that kind of industry, and maybe you agree with this, maybe you don't, but hairdressers are kind of like therapists for a lot
Oh,
of people,
yes.
right? People bring all their problems,
Mhm.
and I don't know if there's any kind of like part of the course that you would take or the training that you would take where dealing with people and their problems is a part of it. But can you
Yeah.
kind of explain, like, run of the day, like, are you having to hear things that might frighten you, or you're
Oh
you're
man.
you're, you're taking home, you're thinking about?
Oh yeah. Like it's pretty crazy. Like sometimes I have people in my chair for like 3 hours, right? So
Hmm.
you hear so much stuff, like everything and anything. Like it's awesome. And I've met some amazing people. Like I have some best friends that I met because I did their hair. So it's really cool. But you do get uh so for me, I think the hardest part is because of where I came from and
Hmm.
what I've been through, I can tell if a woman especially is going through something and especially with something similar to what I went through. And I just know the signs and I'm like, oh, I want to help this person. I got to help this person. What can I say to help them? What can I do? So that's what I find is like, you also have to ride that fine line of not getting too much in their business too, because you don't know if
Hmm.
they want that or not. Right. So you
Yes.
got to kind of have to feel it out. But I personally love it. It can be mentally draining for sure. But because I only do it for 3 days, like that's why too, I only do it for like 3 days a week because doing it full time, I'm just mentally just exhausted because of all the talking and stuff. And fortunately I love to talk, but but it does get a lot when it's like all the
Yes.
time. But yeah, I mean, I do love it. Like I love talking to people and I feel like that's a little bit that I can help people with too. Like there's this book that I've been reading. It's actually half
Okay.
exciting, but it's called The Secret to Love, Health, and Money. And I think I've gotten 3 people now that have sat in my chair to buy this book. And like,
Wow.
yeah, and I'm like, it helped me so much. Like, you got to get it. And I'm like, just it makes me feel better that I can kind of try to give, my personal opinion on things or advice because of things I've been through. And if that can help someone, then that makes me super happy. Yeah. So really at the end of the day, I leave work feeling happy and like I've made friends and our team is awesome and I've met some cool people, or maybe I've just put something in someone's head that will help them, with their life too. Yeah.
And you mentioned kind of where I'd like the conversation to go to next, because in your bio, and it's one of the things that stood out to me the most, a very strong, as well as in my opinion beautiful message that's there. You say that you're a survivor of abuse,
Hmm.
and that you use the slogan hard pass, positive future,
Yeah.
and be the sunshine.
Yeah.
Now I know that you couldn't have probably thought that way at the beginning, and I'd like to ask you first of all, what exactly happened that kind of shaped you and made you get into boxing later on?
So I got married very young. Well, actually, I got pregnant very young first.
Hmm.
And I was still in high school when I met this person, and they were quite a bit older than me. They were like 25, 26 years old. I can't remember exactly. So very young, very vulnerable, didn't know life at all, didn't know what I was doing. And yeah, I got pregnant, and then I was that person that's like, oh, I want to have a family, let's get married and like all that stuff. So married this person, and it just was it was just very bad. It was abuse, like it, very much like he was a narcissist for sure, 100%. And the
Hmm.
abuse was it was almost every day, physical, emotional, mental, like everything you could think of. It just for 8 8-ish years I was with this person, and I was just a shell of a human. I was nothing. Like I just felt like I was nothing. I was just providing for my son, pretty much just making sure he was okay and just living this life. I think of it as living in hell because that's to me what it was. And it was this person was on and off, like he would serial cheat too, so he'd be gone every 2 months and come back, and I kept taking this person back so many times, and because I was under complete control even when we weren't together, I was still under his control. It was pretty intense, and scary, and yeah, it was just a lot of calls to the police, which I never made. It was always other people that made them, and ambulance coming and hospital visit, and just really bad stuff. Yeah, so it's just pretty much went through everything and anything you can think of for 8 years, and then when I I saw this post online about it was actually for kickboxing, but just for fitness.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, I don't know what drew me to it, but I just felt like, hey, I'm gonna sign up for this. Like, I don't know why. Like, because I wasn't really allowed to do anything either, so I was kind of scared to do it too. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. And then I remember getting the phone call, and them saying, okay, do you want to come in at this time to, try it out, right? And I was like, humming and hawing over it. Like I had this like bad feeling just because of what I was going through. Like I knew that person I was with was not gonna like it. So I was like, oh, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go. And I don't know what pushed me to go, but I did. I ended up going, and right away I fell in love with punching the bag. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like this makes me feel good, right? So yeah, that happened, and then 3 weeks later, I don't know, like it completely turned my life around. Like it gave me confidence. I think the endorphins too of the workout, because it was an intense 45-minute workout. Like it was not easy. It was like pretty intense, like burning about 600 calories in 45 minutes, like it was crazy.
Wow.
So it it just like changed me mentally, like almost right away. And I got the courage to leave. And when I left, it was very scary thing. And I knew that when I left, it was going to be really bad for like a year. I knew this person was going to try to make my life even more of a living hell if I left. And that is what happened. And it took a lot of help from like family services, a lot of help. I almost had to go live in a shelter. Luckily, I had some friends that helped me out at the time because I didn't have any, I had to leave everything. I had to leave everything and just go. And it was a pretty scary, like when I did finally decide to leave, it was about 3 weeks after I started the boxing thing. And um, it was a really bad night uh, where he just, he just had a big freak out and it was really bad. And the next day, he took my vehicle, he took my wallet, he took all my things because he knew that I was going to leave. And I ended up figuring out how to go, and it was just a year until I got protection orders, and I had to get about 4 protection orders. And then I had to get now I have a conduct order, which is even better because that lasts forever, so I don't have to worry anymore, right? So
Mhm.
it's good for me and my son. But yeah, it's a long story. A lot of stuff happened, but just something drew me to boxing, and it really gave me the courage to leave him. And I know if I did not do that, I would still be with that person today. And it's really scary to think about. But at the same time, it's a good thing, I think, to tell people because you got to try, especially when you're in that position. You just got to take a leap of faith and just do it and just see what happens. Your life can change, like completely change so quickly, too, right? Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for opening up and sharing with everybody about probably one of the most difficult times that you probably went through. Um, and I first want to navigate what we just spoke of by talking about your friends, because
Hmm.
it seems like friends in this whole story that you just talked about and everything you've gone through, they seem to have been there for you. Can you talk a little bit about the importance that these friends also
Yeah.
had
So,
with?
and pretty much like I when when I came out here to like to BC, moved out here, I started doing cleaning.
Hmm.
So I started cleaning for people, and I became friends with them too because I would clean their houses and I talk a lot, so I would just become friends with them, and this one person was like, "Oh, hey, if you need to," because I was talking about how I think I first stayed with a family member.
Hmm.
And I couldn't stay there for very long, very small apartment. Me and my son couldn't fit in there. So I was like talking to this person that I clean their house, and he's like, "Hey, if you need a place to stay, you can just clean here and live for free." And I was like, "Holy crap, like this is a great deal. Like this is awesome." So he really helped me out and for me and my son get, and it was a nice house too in a nice area. I was like, I felt very lucky to have that because I was this close to going into a shelter, with my son.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so it was either that or a shelter, and until I got on my feet, right? Because like I said, I had to leave everything. I had nothing. I had no furniture. I had, I wasn't making a lot of money. So it was, and with a kid and no child support, it was just like, how do I do this? And that's what I think is so hard for abuse victims, especially with children. They become codependent on the person they're with, and it's like, how do you afford to leave? What do you go homeless, or do you like, you always end up figuring, I always say you always end up figuring it out, you'll always figure it out, but it is a very scary thought, and that's why a lot of people stay for so long too. But yeah, just for me, it was reaching out to people, telling people what I was going through because I used to hide it, right?
Hmm.
So tell your friends, like talk about it, tell family members, reach out to, like, there's so many resources out there too that I didn't even know about. And I think I would have left too a long time ago if I knew about all these resources that helped single moms and stuff, especially out here in BC, there seems to be quite a lot. So yeah, but the friends, like they like letting me stay with them and stuff, like just so thankful for that because like how would I have done it, right? So yeah, very thankful for them.
And I'm just curious, so you're not originally from British Columbia?
No, I'm from Ontario actually, like Barrie, Ontario, is
Okay.
where I'm from. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you been in British Columbia?
I've been out here for almost 5 years. So yeah,
Okay.
so like I said with the person I was married to, he
Mhm.
would leave every few months.
Mhm.
So in one of the months that he left, I moved to BC with my son, and he ended up, following me out here, and we
Okay.
ended up living together again. Yeah, which yeah, it was only a couple months, and then I saw the boxing thing, and yeah, so it's a pretty wild story. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of. I want to be honest. It sounds movie-esque in some ways,
Oh
especially
yeah.
like the level of kind of following, and the fact that you had to go through quite a process to. And I'm really glad at the beginning when you said that things seem to be well addressed now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Am I right in saying
Yeah.
that there isn't?
Everything's figured out. Yeah, so it took a long time, but everything
Yes,
is dealt with now, and me and my son are completely protected, and yeah, it's good.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's honestly what I think most abused women dream of getting,
Yes.
and it's hard to get, but I feel very lucky again to, you know, have the support I had to help me get this for us.
You spoke about codependency and the fact that for a long while you were kind of locked in with this particular person.
Hmm.
You were thinking about your son, and I was thinking to myself because somebody told me a long time ago, maybe as a mom you agree that once you have a kid, it's not about you anymore. It's about them, and
Yeah.
you hear all the time about a mom that sacrifices her, I mean, God forbid, but sacrifices herself for her children, or
Mhm.
does these like selfless acts.
Yeah.
And did you feel like how were you able to convince yourself that you also deserve to have a like, because I'm sure I'm not going to speculate on everything, but I'm sure like part of being a victim here is it's this person's altering your thinking and making you feel like you don't deserve to have your own life and
Mhm.
be exempt of these things.
Yeah, I think the boxing is what changed my mind with that. Like I saw how powerful it made me mentally, like, oh, I am worth something. This person isn't right. Like I'm not worthless. I'm not, just dirt. Like
Mhm.
people like me at boxing, I'm making friends and I feel good when I do this, and it just slowly starts shifting how you feel. And then you realize too that I'm a happier mom when I'm doing this also, you know? So it's like almost, yes, you put your kids first, but you also, when you put yourself first, you're better for your children too. So learning that does take a long time, I think, too, because you want to be selfless for your kid, but you almost have to be selfish to be better for your kid, you know? So it's like it takes a bit to learn that, and also too, like for a long time, I was like, oh, it's better to stay with this person for my son. I think a lot of people think that, like, keep the family together and it's better. But no, if they're seeing abuse, they're seeing that is not good for them. And that took me a long time too to figure out. And, um, again, a lot of people don't figure that out. And that's what scares me. And that's why I want to like say everything that's happened, because I want people to know, like, no, you can change your life. That's not okay. It's not okay that people make you feel like that and your kids witness that stuff. It's not okay. Because to me, too, you could be training your kids to treat other people like that if they see that, And you don't want you want to break the cycle and get them to be good people. And you need to leave for that to happen, I think.
I'm glad that you talked about breaking the cycle and then also talking about how, yeah, being selfless, like it sounds like it's something good in theory, but when they're seeing you not stand up for yourself, it's setting that precedent where, you know, they're not gonna stand up for themselves
Yeah.
maybe in the future if they follow the same kind of path.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you made that connection, because I think it's really important. And I think it, God forbid, if there's anybody that's listening, I mean, if anybody's in a similar situation,
Yeah.
it's not good that they are, but I'm hoping that they're hearing your words and that they're able to take some action to
Yeah.
try and improve their whole situation.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
which leads me to talking about boxing. Now,
Mhm.
your name's Kickboxing Rach
Yes.
on Instagram. I
Yeah.
noticed that, and you talked about starting a fitness class. I've seen an earlier post, more of an emphasis on kickboxing. Can you talk about kind of the transition from kickboxing into boxing? I even
Yeah.
saw Joanna Young Jacek commented on one of your posts. I'd love
That
to
was
hear
just
also that.
I
Yeah.
almost fainted when that happened. My friend actually told me, he's like, "Do you know she commented her thing?" I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was cool. But yeah, so pretty much I didn't live in Sooke. I only moved up here like 2 years ago. And I stopped kickboxing for fitness.
Mhm.
For like a year or so. So I like when I started kickboxing, I got really fit and I lost a lot of weight. And then I stopped. I got distracted with something
Mhm.
and wish I didn't, but I did. And
Mhm.
I stopped for a year, gained all my weight back, looked the same as I was before, didn't feel good again, just, yeah, it just, yeah, didn't feel good. And then I saw the soup boxing thing and I was like humming and hawing over it for a long time because I knew like how hard that first kickboxing class was for me. Like it is killer. Like you feel it. You usually feel workouts the next day. You feel this like an hour after your workout. So
Yes.
I knew it
Yes.
was going to be really hard when I got back there, and I knew I'd have to start at the bottom again. And that's a scary thing too. Like when you lost you're out of shape again, and then you have to go back in, and you're gonna be crap. And then it's also like you don't know who's there. If when you're not used to the gym, you don't know if it's like a I don't know, I like to call it Juice Monkey Gym or something, like that's intimidating, really, right? Like, so
If you
I
own
was
a
like,
Juice Monkey gym, there is a purpose, okay?
yeah, 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 no, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like just nervous because I was just kind of self-conscious again and stuff and just didn't feel like myself again. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. So I just walked. Actually, I was going to a restaurant beside it. And then I was like, I'm gonna pop in here instead of going to the restaurant. So I went in there and I got Ellen's number and I called
Okay.
Ellen and I was like, hey, I kickboxed before just for fitness. I want to, try this out. And she's like, yeah, come to the next class. Went into the next class and I think it was a few classes after, and it was hard. It was really hard, but I was happy again, right away, happy
Yes.
again. And I think it was a few classes after, and she's like, so do you know what we're all about and stuff? And I'm like, nope, I have no clue. Like I don't. And then she told me about West Coast Wonder Woman. Immediately, I was like, oh my gosh, like that is awesome. Like, could I fight? Could I do that? Like, so she put that bug in my ear. And I'm just, after what just happened too, like, I am just so happy that life led me to go into that place. Like, it just, again, life changing, right? So I always think things happen for a reason too. Yeah.
And having Ellen on and talking to her, and I've talked to her a little bit off camera as well. She is a very rare individual, and I know
Yeah.
people say rare individual all the time. It's like kind of it's, but really, she has this love and support for people that I don't think many people have. It's like a motherly love, I guess the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
When I was talking to her again in the interview and outside of the interview, she was caring about me in a way that my family members, or like, she doesn't even know me,
Yeah.
and she has a passion for boxing, and more so about sharing her story and trying
Yeah.
to empower women
Yeah.
and give
That's amazing.
opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's amazing that you were able to make that connection, because I'm sure you've benefited from that.
Mhm.
And
And it's
uh
very inspiring. Like, just that she started at 40, like, because I'm like, I'm 30. And I'm like, you do have that thing in the back. I don't feel like I'm 30, but you have that thing in the back of your head. You're like, am I too old for this? But then I'm like, no, Ellen did it. Ellen did it for you. Like, I can do it. Like, so that alone is just so helpful. I remember too, like, she really helped me through something. Like, I was coming into boxing one day and I saw her and I was just kind of not myself. Like, I was going through something and I told her something and she's like, pretty much telling me like, you can do this. Like, I did it, you can do it. Like, and I was like, oh man, she's right. Like, why am I doubting myself? Like, just having that little talk from her like boosted me up so much. And like, I don't think she realized too, like, how much that little conversation like helped me also. So yeah, and I always like to think of her as like, she's got such tough love too. Like, she's very like, which is awesome because a lot of people need that. Like, I need that. I feel like that makes me do better too. And she's very like, no, you can do it. Like, I did it, you can do it. Like, I love it. Like, and that helped me out so much. Yeah.
And you mentioned Ellen, and again how much she's helped you, and we were talking about that. And like I was wondering from a fighter's perspective, because I saw this in the documentary, the trailer for the documentary, in the for the all the all female fight card.
Yeah.
What's the official title again? Do you remember?
Like the West Coast Wonder Woman, like all
Uh,
female. Is that
the documentary that's about the
Oh, the
West Coast war.
documentary. Yeah,
The
all
title,
female card. I think that's what it is,
yes,
right? All
all
female
female
card.
card.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I just wanted to make sure I got it right. I'll have,
yeah,
of course, all the information relating to that, because we've covered that in the previous one. But I remember watching some of the early videos that were out. I think it was the first time that they went to see the card, and I talked to this to Ellen when I interviewed her. But I wanted to ask from your opinion, because when she was looking at her fighters in the
yeah,
corner, she was, you could get the sense that there was an authenticity, that she actually believed what she was saying. I don't know how
yeah,
many times in your life, but certainly in my time, I've had people look at me in the face and say something, and I just know that they don't actually mean it. They don't believe it.
yeah, yeah. It's
Did
not
you get that
authentic.
kind of
Yeah.
same sense with having her as your coach, and her having you in the corner when she does say that you can do stuff, that she believes it?
Yes, yeah, and actually, she wasn't in my corner for my fight, but I saw her right
Okay.
before my fight, and she's like, "You worked really hard for this," like, and I was like, it made me feel all warm and happy. It's like, because it means a
Uh,
lot coming from her, because she started all this, and it makes me feel like,
mhm.
oh, she believes in me, like, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So it feels good.
So you had your first fight, and I gotta be honest, when I saw your opponent, Helen Chen, and the pad work,
I
I was
know.
like, wow. I was
I
like,
know.
wow, this is a first opponent. And I
Yeah.
know, look, listen, I know you're a very positive person and everything like that. But can we get a little bit of insight about what you're thinking about? Because she is like a
Yeah.
skilled fighter for somebody who doesn't
Yeah,
have any fights. What were you thinking? Were you watching her posts on Instagram? What were you
oh
think? What
yeah,
was going through
for
your head?
sure. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely, as soon as I knew her name, I was like, I gotta look at her up. Yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like her, like, I don't know, they must have like a professional like video person in their gym
Yes.
or something, because
Yes.
their videos are awesome, like amazing. And I'm in my driveway doing hand I was like, oh my gosh, like, and everyone kept coming up to me and being like, she looks tough, Rachel. She looks really tough. And like,
Yes.
I was terrified. I was terrified. But you know what? I'm doing this thing now, and what are you doing? Come here. And I tell myself, oh, sorry, come here, Taco, come on up. Um, so yeah, I was just telling myself, like, when we went to Vancouver for sparring, I think
Mm-hmm.
you probably saw that,
Yes, I did.
to spar with some all girls, and
Mm-hmm.
I went against another girl who I was terrified of. Everybody kept saying, oh, she's really amazing, Rachel. She's really good. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I getting into, right? And I was very scared. I think she's had more than 10 fights, this girl. Very, Yeah, I went
Mm-hmm.
in, and it was like the Shark Tank thing that I had to do with 3 other girls too. So it was like going one person to the next person, sparring with them. And that was amazing. I'm so happy Ellen put that together too, because that really prepared me for our fight, because we were in our comfort zone at Sooke Boxing sparring there with our
Mm-hmm.
teammates. So we're
Mm-hmm.
like really used to them. So I got in my comfort zone going to Vancouver to Quinnet boxing.
Okay.
It was like we got out of our comfort zone, and we're in this new place now, sparring against new people, and it's like, oh man, this is real. This felt real. And I did okay with the girl I had to go against there that's had 10 fights. So I remember when I went in there doing that, I kept telling myself, just have fun. This is just sparring. Let's just have fun. Don't worry about it. I know I'm scared, but I'm just going to go in there and have fun. So that's what I did. And then I thought, I felt the same way when I was just about to go against Helen. And I just kept telling myself, I am full of energy. I'm gonna have fun. I am going to have fun, and I'm going to win. Like I just kept telling myself that, and the whole time it just relaxes me. When I say I'm having fun, I don't take it super seriously. Then, like, it is serious, but I go in to have fun because I love doing it, and it makes me feel good. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go have fun, and that's what I did, and I felt way more relaxed going into it, doing that. So I think that's my secret.
Is the Quinnet gym where Coach Tariq and also I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Nayusha? Is that the gym that they both train at? Nayusha is a national champ for the Canadian team.
I'm not sure, to be
I'm
honest with you.
thinking.
I didn't really look it up either before. I think I was
Okay.
also like scared to look anything up before I went, because I didn't want to psych myself out. So I
Yes.
didn't really look anything up. I just kind of got in the car and was like, "Oh, we're going on a trip." Yeah.
I'm trying to see. I'm just really quickly gonna see if
The
that's the
girl that
same gym.
I was a little scared of sparring with was her name's Kat.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think she's pretty known. I think she's a pretty known boxer too.
So when you were mentioning how you were able to have fun there under those types of circumstances, and we talked earlier about um how you dance on social media and things like that. Like I do the same
Yeah.
thing. Dance battle sometime,
Yeah.
friendly
Yeah.
wager.
That's awesome.
No, I think you win. I tell you, you got the MJ moves. You got the
Oh yeah.
MJ moves. Yes, yes,
Like,
yes, yes.
that's
Um,
awesome.
but you, I could see you channeling in that fight live. I could
Hmm.
see you channeling that happy dancing energy. I mean, there's a clip that you posted where
Yeah.
they wanted you to go to the neutral corner and you're kind of and the way you were
Uh,
walking was like you were having so much fun. Like, oh,
I was
I guess I
literally,
gotta go there,
yeah, I was
And
literally having the time of my life. It was awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the best way to describe it is like Little Red Riding Hood. Like, whoa, I gotta go there. You're
Yeah.
having a time, and you were, if I'm not mistaken, you did you dance? I think you
Yeah.
even danced or just were light on the feet, like in starting
No, I get
rounds.
myself pumped up. I'm like, I gotta dance. I gotta go.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
was that something in the moment that was hard to channel, or did you feel like you've been preparing for this for so long, and you felt in that moment that you were gonna be yourself?
Yeah, like I think I did work really hard. I showed up, like, I was showing up every class. I was doing the work. I made sure I did, because I knew whoever I was gonna fight was gonna want to kick my butt. So I had to be ready for that. And I just want to do everything I could possible to do it. It was a very serious thing for me.
Yes.
Took it super seriously. And um yeah, I tell myself that's just how I relax. I think I was really tense before. I actually saw a clip of Jackie Chan doing some karate stuff, and he saw it was in a mailroom, and he saw a
Uh-huh.
letter that said just be happy. And so after I saw that, my friend actually sent that to me. And then after, he was doing really good, and I was like, I'm going to do that. So that's when I started
Yes.
like doing that. And I'm like, I'm just going to be happy. And literally all throughout my fight or sparring or anything, that's what I repeat to myself, is in the front of my head all the time, is I'm just gonna have fun. Let's have fun. I'm happy, let's have fun. And it's really helped me like a lot. And I can I am having fun, but I also feel like I'm letting out all my skills in that moment. Like I'm not gonna hold back. I'm gonna let it all out and just show what I've been working on too, but I am gonna have fun while I do it. Yeah.
And am I don't want to go too back into what we were talking earlier, but am I reading the right situation? Were you, before you had met this person and everything that we talked about, were you this type of person before when you were younger, and maybe you had been suppressed for so long and finally you're breaking back into, like, what do your family think? What do your friends think? Are
Yeah.
they seeing a Rachel that they hadn't seen for a long time?
Yeah, my mom actually, she made comments a lot, like when I was with this person, she's like, "You're not you anymore. You're not you,
Mhm.
because before this person, I could do anything and everything. That was my mindset. Is nothing will
Mhm.
hold me back. I could do everything I want in life. Any dream I have, I'm gonna do it.
Mhm.
And I met this person, and I again was just a shell of a human. I did
Mhm.
not have that thinking at all, at all. I just remember sitting on my bed crying after something happened, and I was like, this is my life. Like, what is this? Like, this is just how I live now, like miserable, unhappy, crying, uh doing nothing with my life, just stuck under someone.
Mhm.
And I'm a very like free person normally. Like before that person, I would get up at 6 a.m. I would bike every morning just to see the sunset, like that's what made me happy. I was always pretty active.
Mhm.
I wasn't a part of any teams or anything, but I always liked to keep active. So definitely when I found boxing again, I started becoming myself again. But the thing is, I was so young too, right? That you don't even realize it happening, and you
Mhm.
don't realize who you are at that age completely. So it was like, now looking back, I can see that, but in that time, it happens gradually. So you don't notice that you're not that person anymore, you know,
Mhm.
until again someone says it. But my mom said that to me. She said, you're not who you were. It's sad. This is not who you are. I know you're strong. I know you're this type of person. And what happened? Where are you? And then she would warn me, if I ever was starting to fall back into that too. And it would really kind of like, oh, Rachel, what are you doing? Like, don't fall back into that situation again, because it is, especially with relationships, like for me, that's been hard because I've always fallen back into kind of the same type of people.
Mhm.
So I'd like to think I've stepped it up a bit, but I'm not. With my relationships, is that every person that I've been with has been a little bit better, but still not great. So now I'm just by myself and I'm happy, and yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's cool to I don't know, find yourself again. Yeah.
And a lot of people, I'm glad you talked about the relationship aspect, because I think if somebody doesn't have somebody, then they're looking for somebody, or vice versa, and seems to
Hmm.
be the way life is for most people.
Yeah.
um when, like, I've looked into this myself. I'm sure other
Yeah.
people have. People say all the time, you gotta love yourself before you can love anybody else.
Yeah.
And it's very often, and I'm trying to understand the complexity of it, but when you're with somebody that really tears you apart and
Hmm.
makes you feel worthless, can you talk a little bit about that process of, as you said, building up and being content with yourself? Because I'm sure at the beginning you weren't liking who you were, when in fact you
Yeah.
might have had all of the qualities that you still have today, but you're
Hmm.
just realizing the kind of person you are.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it's just I slowly. as it happens of you losing yourself, it's also a slow process at the beginning of finding yourself again. So it happens like little by little, right? So like taking that step, doing boxing, you know, first you're like, oh, I feel good. You walk out, oh, I feel good, you know, and then you're like, I'm gonna do it again, and then you're like, oh, I feel good. Like after a week, after 2 weeks, you're like, it's like, holy, I'm on top of the world. Like, what's going on, right? So, and then you kind of just like see that happen again. Whereas, I don't know, like it's slow, but it's also fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, not even 5 months ago. I was in a dark place again, you know, and it was
Mm-hmm.
not good. I wasn't fit again, you know, like I went back into this bad pattern until I
Mm-hmm.
started at Sooke boxing again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, was just going through a lot of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
it that was 5 months ago, and now I feel better than I ever have in my life. You know, like happier, healthier, like the fittest I've been, and the most confident I've been, and it's just like that was not even 5 months, you know? So you can turn your life around so quickly, but it, I think for the first month, it feels really slow. You're like, when am I gonna feel better? This is not working fast enough, you know? Yeah. But really, if you're I think consistency is the key. You just got to keep at it for your mental health and for your physical health too. Whatever one, if you want to do both or one or the other, you know, just be consistent and results will happen.
How does it feel discovering a passion such as boxing that you clearly have, and the trend, not well, I won't say the trend, but the direction that boxing is going, as
Hmm.
well as mixed martial arts, is
Yeah.
more inclusivity for female
Yeah.
athletes? How does it
Um,
feel having this wave behind you where you have, Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano? You
yeah.
have, the Ronda Rouseys, the Amanda Nunes's, the Joanna Young Jaceks, the
Yeah.
Valentina Shevchenkos. How does it feel knowing that you're not alone and that you're there's this big wave of female fighters that, quite frankly, are more entertaining than the guys a lot of the time?
I was gonna say that. Like, I find it. I can't wait for female fights to come on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, Joanna and Wade Lee, they're
Yeah,
having a
that's gonna
rematch.
be
Like, I
awesome.
am so excited for that. You know, it is just, it is awesome. It is awesome, and it's a different feel. Like, I went to a boxing match last night, and it was mostly men, right? And it's a different feel. Whereas West Coast Wonder Woman, it was like completely different. Like
Mhm.
there's way more love, first of all, with the woman. I think it's not just we want to hurt each other. You know, like
Yes.
we actually really respect, and I'm sure men do too, but it's a different feel for sure. You know, having the all woman fights compared to like some women mixed in with men fights. You
Hmm.
know, um, yeah. So it's really cool to be part of it. Like I wish I started when I was younger, which I'm sure a lot of people say, but
Hmm.
I feel very lucky and privileged that I am doing this right now, you know? And it's like, can I take this somewhere I want to take it somewhere and I think I can. Um
I'm gonna stop
like,
you
yeah.
because I know you can,
Oh,
and
yes,
that's
I
kind of
know.
what I wanted to say because, like I said, I'm looking at the pad work of your opponent, and I'm like, gee, I love this, the energy you have. I don't want to see it, just, oh, I lost, guys, blah blah blah. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want that to happen, and thank God it didn't. But I
Yeah.
watched that fight, and I saw somebody that's that's in it. That's in it.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
like, you had an impressive performance, of course, and of course this is your first fight. So I mean, like,
Yeah.
many I haven't even had my own first fight yet.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I will say, from everything that I've gathered in boxing, you're not too old to be
Yeah.
boxing.
No,
Um,
and I always
yeah.
say go by how you feel. I do not feel like I'm 30 at all. Like I don't know if it's because I have ADHD or what, but I'm like I got so much energy.
Well,
Yeah.
I've been learning. I've been learning this. It's talked about a lot in MMA, but where, a lot of MMA fighters still have backgrounds in collegiate sports, etc. that would have put a lot of wear on their careers. And when they make that transition to MMA, they, maybe in their 30s, 32, 33, they're getting to the end of their career. But you had mentioned that while you were staying active early on, you never played that many team sports. So my understanding is that you probably don't have a lot of the wear that somebody that has been competing earlier in different sports has. So, and following that logic, I mean, you have 10, 15, 20 years ahead of you.
Yeah.
So,
no, I like that. I never thought of that before, actually. Yeah, that's good. I have nowhere. No.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I'm
ready. Yeah, we have plans and stuff coming up for more fights, and I'm like, when I just want to make it to 11 and then see what happens after that.
This September, I'm looking at possibly going back to school for the third time post-secondary, right?
Yeah.
There's people. I'm 24 years old. There's people that already have their master's degrees. They're working on their doctorate. It's crazy to even think that they're starting a doctorate. They got their house. They got their I'm talking to you, Jacob Kenny. You got your condo now. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. You're listening, Jacob? I'm coming for you. But what I learned is that, when you get out of high school, you think to yourself, well, I got to do this. I got to follow the crowd. What's the crowd doing now? University? Okay, I'm going to do that. Oh, college? I'm going to do that. Oh, I'm just going to work? I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I realized, and maybe it was after failing 2 attempts, maybe that helped. We make
There's
our
always
own
failure with success, though.
True. But what I learned, and I think it applies in your case, is we make our own timelines. We don't have to follow what other people do. We make the decisions ourselves. So if you want to be 30 years old, 31, go pro.
Yeah.
You can go pro.
Yeah.
If you're 24 and you want to go back to school for the third time, you can do it. I mean, there's nothing stopping you except a commission if they won't let you go, like that Rocky movie. But the future seems bright. So and
I think so. Yeah.
And so I'm guessing we kind of touched on it a bit. You seem to be also a fan of MMA and kickboxing as well as boxing.
Yes. Yeah. I am. Yeah, I love watching UFC and stuff. Like anytime I can watch anything with punching, I'm happy. Yeah.
And I had to say yes.
Oh, I never used to like watching it. I always, when I was younger, I always was like, oh, I can't watch that. Like people are hurting each other. But when you learn about the sport, it's like, the science behind it, all this stuff, and the heart behind it and the determination and all the training and everything that goes into it. You're like, oh, wow, you really respect it. And it's like different. It changes your mind about it, right? I have a lot of clients too, actually, that I box and they're like, oh, I can't. Why do you do that? Like I can't ever watch that, like all this stuff. And I'm like, the funny thing is I could never watch it before, but when you research it and you learn about it, it's just a different thing. It's like just changes your mind about it, It's not about hurting someone. It's like, and we all know what we're going in there for, we're all there for the same thing. So, yeah.
And that's something that this podcast is really trying to address. That person that you were just speaking about. Good people, bad intentions. Like the sport, punching people. I mean, hey, you're not making friends when you're hitting the person, but you are making friends because it's such a beautiful community, and the people.
It really is,
yeah. The people, like I've said in previous podcasts. I mean, they're telling you, you weren't punching me hard enough. Maybe if you put a little bit of, weight in this direction or do this, next time you can, really give me a bruise, Like everybody's trying to help each other out to meet their full potential because what they realize is that they're at their best when their opponents are at their best or their sparring partners or their training partners are at their best. And when the level rises of the competition, so too do you rise.
Yeah.
So yeah, like and this whole podcast is all about destigmatizing fighters and
Yeah.
showing their more softer or good side, because a lot of fighters, yeah, they're, if they weren't going on a Saturday night, with some trunks, or with a tank top on or whatnot, you wouldn't know that they
Yeah.
were fighters.
No. Yeah, I had someone comment, actually, they know me from my salon, and they're like, "Oh,
Okay.
Rachel's so bubbly and nice. Like, how does she?" Like, then she said she's tough in the ring, and I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
it all comes out in the ring." Like, and it's like
Yeah.
nobody expects it from me. And it's just, I like that though.
Yeah.
I almost feel like that's the game for me. I'm like this happy, bubbly person. That's me. That's who I am. But you don't expect it when you get in the ring. Like, yeah. So I love that. And then I finished my fight, and this I was like around the front seats there, and this older lady, she's like, "You're so adorable. You're so adorable." Like, after my fight, it was like, "Oh, thanks."
Uh,
I was like, that's just funny because, again, you don't, is almost like you don't kind of change who you are in the ring, but you're so focused, you kind of are almost a different person a little bit. It's like,
mhm.
yeah, yeah. But people, like, I mean, yeah, all really good people, all awesome, amazing people. And I think with the women too, and men do it too, but we just love each other at the end. There's never any harsh, bad feelings. It's always just love, right? Yeah.
Arguably the biggest fight in modern women's boxing. Both fighters at the end, Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor, hug each
Yeah.
other. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not really any bad blood spilt at all. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, we're hoping for the rematch. I was
Yeah.
talking to Ellen Connor about the male 135 division with Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos Jr. not too long before this, and the result at the end just contrasts. and
Yeah.
and and Ellen was saying, well, these two women that fought their heart out, they understood the struggle and
Yeah.
how hard it was for both of them to get to where they are. I mean, Katie Taylor, won the first Olympic in the first Olympics that women's could box, won the gold medal.
Yeah.
And Amanda Serrano, she went pro before Katie Taylor. She had some success in the MMA and then in boxing. So yeah, they were both like knowing and looking at each other and doing that. Did you have that kind of
Yeah.
same feeling with your opponent after the fight?
Oh yeah. Like, there was nothing but love. Like, I gave her a big hug, I think twice. Yeah. 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 And I know us too, just wanted to say, like, my team also, like the West Coast Wonder Woman team, like, that's what I think is different too between the men and women. And I do think, men, there's also men in there that do it because they've gone through stuff too, and it helps them. But I know on our team, every single one of us has had something hard happen to us. And I think that gives us the edge to do this. Like, this is why we're stepping in there, because we are mentally already prepared because we've been through shit. So it's
Yes.
like we got this, right? Yeah. So it's just really cool that way too, because I think for men, I think it's such a dominant sport, right? So I think it's just like a lot of fun for them too. But I know for our team, it's just like, we've been through something. We need this. We need this sport. You know, this is our therapy. It gets us through life, and it makes us happy. And so it's really cool that just meeting those girls who I've met, so many awesome girls, so many friends I have now from this too. It's just like, yeah, the best thing ever. And hearing their stories and everything is so inspiring, and it's so cool. And just to be part of it is just so cool.
Hey, and I'm happy that everybody from the team was able to meet up and meet with each other, because it seems almost like a chance encounter meeting Ellen. I mean, it was literally
Yeah.
restaurant or gym,
Yeah.
and some
Yeah.
type of voice in you was like, yeah, like, let's go to the gym instead. I
Yeah.
got one thing. I got one thing. When you start ascending the ranks, I get this idea for you, like a little, you know how all the fighters nowadays, they got to have a little bit of a promo to, get the buys and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
thinking what you can do is say to your opponent, well, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna bring you and put you in the corner and take the stool from your corner, and I'm gonna cut your hair up, and then I'm gonna knock you out.
I
What
love
do you
it. That's
think? What do you think? You
awesome.
know?
Oh my god, I need to use that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you got some
Yeah, that's
blood,
good.
because you said you like
Yeah.
Joanna, and she does the whole, you know,
Oh yeah, that's why I like her. She's super like
she looks like she's doing like one of those
oh
Korean or Japanese push-ups
yeah.
when she's about to
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at
And
the
her
person.
trash talking is just over the top.
Oh
Like it's
yeah.
like yeah. I'm
And
like,
English
I
isn't
wonder
her
if I
first
can get there.
language either. I mean, it's Polish, so I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
she had to practice. She knew that element of the game when she was champ, and I'm really hoping that she gets back to being champ. It's
yeah,
like weird because you got the I don't know if you watched the Rose versus Carla Esparza 2, and
yeah.
there's a lot of
That
criticism
was
about that.
that was boring.
Yeah, and what they're saying
I'm
though,
like, well,
everybody's saying is
do
like
something.
maybe history is going to repeat itself again because
Yeah,
after the first Rose and Esparza fight, after the finale of that tough season where they were
yeah,
trying to determine the first inaugural champ for that weight
yeah,
division, then you had the Joanna fight, and bang, Joanna
yeah,
becomes who she was and who she still is. So I'm really
yeah,
excited to.
yeah. One thing too that I just have to mention because it
Yeah.
just stands out to me so much is Joanna put out a video about how I think it was 6 months or 6 weeks before she was gonna quit doing MMA stuff, right? Like she was gonna quit. It was in a video she posted, and
Hmm.
then she got the call to UFC, and
Oh
that
wow.
always sticks in my head. Like again, you never know where life's gonna take you, you never know. And it's just like she didn't give up. She kept going. And like well, no matter what people tell you, like, oh, you're not good enough or you're too old or you're whatever, like whatever. As long as you I think believe in yourself, even if no one else believes in you. If you have it in you, right? And just like hearing that, it gives me hope too. I'm like, oh yeah, I can take this somewhere. Yeah. Yeah.
And Rachel, I think this is a really good time. We talked about so many great things. Of course, not so great at the beginning, and
Yeah.
the I love the message that you carry. I love the energy, the happiness. I loved how you trusted this audience and everybody with some very sensitive stuff, information. And I think, like I said, if anybody's listening to what Rachel's saying, and Rachel did do a good job of outlining some of the resources that are available that she wishes she knew at the time. Um, what are some, if you were to make like kind of a closing, if you were to talk to yourself, when you first or how should I say this? If you were to talk to yourself back in the day,
Yeah.
what would you have said?
Um, take a leap of faith. Like you're worth something. You're not garbage. You're not dirt. You're worth something. There it will all work out. If you take that leap of faith, it's scary, but it will work out. You'll figure it out, and um yeah, just have faith and just reach out to people. Reach out to people. And honestly, like I want to use my platform just for like I look for messages every day. Like I for women and I'm like if they need help, like message me, reach out to me. Like I will tell you anything and everything you need to know to help in any way I can. That's my goal of everything I do online. My goal, even just to help one woman, that's would make my life. That would make me so happy for the rest of my life.
Thank you so much there, Rachel, for coming on. I'm really
No
excited
problem.
to see that when the second fight is going to happen.
Yeah.
I no hurry, no hurry
Yeah.
on that one, but I'm really
Yeah.
excited to see you develop as a fighter, to continue climbing the ranks, to continue collecting the W's. You're
Yeah.
you're like a bowl of bowl of alphagetti with all the W's. Only
Yeah.
W's. You're only
Yeah.
collecting the W's. None of the A's, the B's, the C's.
Yeah. Just the W's.
Just the W's.
Yeah.
Uh,
Awesome.
I really
Thanks so
appreciate you
much.
also putting up with my corny jokes.
Oh yeah. No,
It's
I love all the jokes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully the audience agrees. And yeah, take care. And we'll see you another time.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much.
And I hope everybody enjoyed this episode of the podcast, listening to Rachel's story. Yeah, that was amazing. She had been very open and honest with us. So one thing that I hope with everybody that's listened is that we all be respectful to her and her story. And I really appreciate, again, her coming on. And so, as always, everybody, if you've enjoyed this podcast, say you're watching it on YouTube, if you could like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, or if you're listening to it on your preferred podcasting platform, make sure to give it an honest review, and subscribe to it on your preferred platform, so that way when a new episode comes out, you won't miss it. And people, whatever time it is that you're listening to this, maybe you're driving to work, maybe you're taking a nice bath. I don't know why you're doing. No, I wish I was taking a bath right now. Whatever time you're listening to this, I hope you're having a good day. If not, I hope this podcast has given you something to think about. And I look forward to seeing everybody the next time. Take care.